Thank you for double-clicking your mouse tonight. You're listening to the Midnight Frightcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Midnight Frightcast, episode number 46. I am Maddy. Across from me is Josh. How you doing tonight?
I'm present.
Awesome.
Wow.
Present and accounted for.
So much energy.
And we're bringing the enthusiasm tonight. And on my left, we got Patrick, doctor of everything else.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
And we are missing Greg tonight. Apparently, we cannot all four get together this month. We're just having some problems, but he is flying right now.
Yeah, the doctor of filmonomics is up in the air.
Yeah.
Right now. So
Like in an airplane, he's not smoking.
He might be high too.
Right, that's true.
Whatever he wants to do. We got a great cast for you guys tonight. We just watched an awesome trailer. We have a really cool movie to review, and we're going to be chatting about what went on this year. But first, let's talk about our trailer. We just watched the trailer for Jordan Peele's new movie, This Is Us. It's coming out in March. What did everyone think?
Yeah, so the trailer dropped originally on Christmas Day. So that was a nice little Christmas gift for the horror fans. It got shared like crazy right out of the gate. Like it was landing on all the different horror sites and just everybody was talking about it. That trailer, I've watched that trailer a ridiculous amount of times now and I haven't gotten tired of it yet. I cannot wait. I'm super stoked for his next film. I loved Get Out. It's a completely different kind of direction than Get Out. But yeah, I'm all about this trailer and this film coming out.
I like the fact that it appears to be very unique from anything that we've seen before.
Yeah.
These are creatures that I've not encountered with or anything like that in any of the movies that I've seen up to this point. And, you know, in reading articles about it prior to seeing the trailer, he talks about how he created an entire mythology behind this. And so it'll be interesting to see the movie and see how that unfolds.
Yeah,
that'll be awesome.
Since I have seen the trailer a few times, I wasn't watching the trailer. I do the same thing I do to my wife when I watch a film I've already seen with her. I
watch reactions?
Watch reactions. And Patrick has some good ones. Yeah, I like to watch people's reactions to the different parts of the movie. And there's some good beats in there.
Yeah, it's like a modern Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's very upgraded. It looks really cool. I'm really excited. It's more, as you said, it's different from anything we've really seen, especially recently.
Yeah. And I like how he's breaking all the rules, like don't run with scissors. I mean, I bet one of them's probably going to jump into the ocean there like 15 minutes after eating. He's breaking all the rules here.
Yeah.
What I liked about the trailer is I like movies that have kind of like cool, almost disturbing imagery to it. And that movie had it. I like shots that look cool as long as it's bringing a good movie with it. And it did look really cool. There was a lot of stuff in there.
And there's a ton of questions that come with that trailer that give you no answers. And I'm okay with that. I can't wait for that one to come out. That's going to be cool. I think he's going to, he got the Oscar nod for Get Out, and I don't think he has to follow that. That's the thing, is he has to follow that movie that was so praised by everybody that the pressure to put out a good sophomore film, or I guess sophomore horror film, has got to be crazy. And I think he took his time and he's bringing something.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see the content or the context, I should say. Because one of the things that got him that Oscar nod was what the context of the movie was. And I don't think it was just the writing and the directing. So we'll see what this all entails.
Yeah.
Well, Jordan Peele, is he doing the Candyman remake as well?
He is on the as a producer, I think, for the Candyman remake. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be 2019 will be a good year for him because he's doing the Twilight Zone remake and then Candyman if he's on that, and then which I'm interested to see that because Candyman's a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if what's his fucking name is coming back to
Tony Todd.
Tony Todd will, because I mean, can you see Candyman without Tony Todd?
Yeah, no, he's a terrifying human being. Like I could not imagine anybody else playing that part.
And he still has the same look. I mean, he's aged, but he's not. He can still do it. But if you're going to revamp Candyman, do you revamp it from scratch and recast everything? And so, yeah, Jordan Peele is going to have a good year.
Yeah, he's going to have a good year. This will also be a fun one. Any other thoughts on that trailer?
No, I think I'll be there for that one.
Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah, I'll see it.
I'll go twice.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And as you said with the trailer, it leaves a lot of questions because I'm kind of over the trailer that like shows you the entire movie before it even comes out. Yeah. So you kind of go in like, and all the scary parts are in the trailer and you have the story down already. Like I want that to be in trailers. Just a little bit of like intrigue without showing you everything.
Yeah, the answers.
And I think that was probably one of my reactions that Josh was talking about was in this trailer, he had to say that it was, they were doppelgangers of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because that's what it's about. It's not like there's going to be a twist later on and they figure it out, that type of thing. That's the basis of the movie. Yeah. Because I was watching that and they said, the youngest one said, they're us. Yeah. And I said, oh, he's giving it away. But then I thought, no, he has to because that's the meat of the movie.
But based off Get Out, I bet you there's a twist in that movie.
I believe so.
So
I would not doubt it. So that's March 14th, by the way.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so I missed that date.
Not that far away.
All right. Well, as I said, check out the trailer for Us, and that's coming out, you said, March 14th?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, tonight we have a special news segment. It's the news with Patrick.
Yeah. We didn't bring news. So,
we didn't do anything.
The news was light for us.
It was a light. I mean, I searched for news for a while and it took a while to get it. And it's just not even good news. I mean, it's weak news is what it is. And unfortunately, Greg's not here to bring us in with the news.
You know what? I think we can you just like edit the theme song in from another cast or something? Or you can do it. Should there be talking over this? This is fantastic. This is way better than the Greg stuff.
All right. So I hope Greg appreciates that.
That was awesome.
Thank you. That was important.
All right. So, like I said, it's weak news. One of the Hollywood artists that work on the Predator movie revealed on Instagram that one of the alternative endings for that movie had Ellen Ripley. Yes, that would be Ripley from the Alien movies, emerging from a sleep chamber wearing a Predator killer outfit.
That's kind of interesting. That's a crossover.
Crossover from Predator to Alien.
Well, they did that movie Predator versus Alien.
They did, and it was not good.
Yeah, I was going to say they didn't do it well, but they did. It happened. Yeah.
He stated, we shot 3 different endings for the Predator, all variations of a Predator killer. And this one was unused ending, was the Predator killer Ripley wearing the breather mask that they created for the film. You can see her name tag there on the costume, so it was obvious it was Ripley.
Interesting.
That's the thing.
I didn't see the movie.
I haven't seen the movie either.
I can imagine that would have been a pretty badass ending.
Yeah.
Better than the turd I heard it was.
Yeah, Greg didn't have a lot of positive things to say about it. So that's the first one. Second one, we'll see if it happens. But Variety has estimated that the Unbreakable prequel Glass is estimated to snag $70 to $75 million on its opening weekend.
I can see that.
I think that's low.
You think that's low? Because a lot of conservative readings are saying $50 million.
Really?
Yeah.
I just think that that movie's going to shatter the box office that weekend. Oh, come on. Give me something.
No.
Doctor of puns that we finally have.
You're welcome. I'm here. The way Split went over 2 years ago. That was 2 years ago. I think he's going to kill the box office that weekend. Mm-hmm. Me personally. What the fuck do I know, though?
When is that one coming out?
I don't have a date on it here. It's coming out in 2019.
Sweet.
But I mean, look at the cast of that movie and tell me that people aren't going to chase that alone. Yeah. And, like a nostalgic kind of like bringing back those characters this many years later and kind of molding it with the characters from Split. I think it's going to go over really well.
I just know, I mean, if it was a prequel or a sequel just to Unbreakable, it wouldn't do that well.
Yeah.
I think Split made the difference.
Yeah. Split was fantastic.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. For my third and final piece of news, and people that know me know that I like a good bourbon, that I'm a big fan of old fashions.
They're disgusting. But yeah, keep going.
Oh, you think they're disgusting.
Oh my God.
I love them. Well, Silver Screen Bottling Company will be releasing a new label of bourbon called Dutch. And this whiskey is inspired by the 1987 classic Predator and named after the alien-fighting badass played by Arnold Schwarzenegger in that film.
It is a Predator-led news feed.
It really is.
That's interesting. Well, there was I know Johnny Walker just did something for Game of Thrones, but then they created a whole nother line of scotch. And I don't know the brand name. So is that like going to be the thing now? Is like,
I guess,
alcohol-sponsored movie?
But I mean, that movie is so far gone.
Yeah.
That, I mean, why would they all of a sudden come out with it?
Fan of the Predator? I don't know.
Gotta be.
It's gotta
Collector
be.
bottles,
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff like that. All right. Well, that's all that I have for the weak-ass news.
This is the best thing ever. This news sound. I mean, the music is way more important than the actual
The
news.
actual news was, yes. Oh, God. That was weak.
Yeah, it's okay. Sorry, Greg, you've been replaced.
Yeah.
I was sort of thinking, should I edit this and just have me go
No,
and then
no.
break the music over the top of that?
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
We should keep that. Sorry, Greg.
Well, thank you. That was the news from Patrick. And our topic for this this cast is kind of a dual topic. We really want to talk about...
Actually, we're skipping a section here.
What section?
What we've been watching.
Shit, a brick. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
What we've been watching. What have we been watching, Josh?
We can't skip what we've been watching because there's some stuff on my list that I think might start a little bit of a conversation and a fight. So, did we just want to round robin the what we've been watching?
Yes.
Sure.
Or just go through it? The first thing on my list was probably actually one of my favorite things I've seen this year. I watched it on Amazon Prime. It was a rental. It was like $2 though, and it's totally worth the rental. There's a movie on Amazon Prime called You Might Be the Killer. Has anybody heard of it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Have you seen it yet?
I've not seen it yet. It is on my
chase that movie.
It is on my list to watch before the end of 2018, so I can include it on our list of the best of 2018 if it so ends up there.
Yeah. Allison Hannigan from American Pie fame and Fran Kranz, I think is how he says his name. He was the stoner in Cabin in the Woods.
Nice.
Yeah, lead the movie. But it's like a camp counselor wakes up. He blacks out and he wakes up covered in blood and surrounded by a bunch of dead counselors. He calls his best friend Chuck, played by Allison Hannigan, and she asks him all these questions, and they're trying to figure this, like, who the killer is, and then she's like, there's a possibility that you fucking did this, and but it breaks all the rules, and it's horror comedy.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is it more of a comedy?
Yeah, it's so fun. And if you have not seen You Might Be the Killer, like I said, it's $2 on Amazon Prime, so it's like nothing. And it's totally worth the rental on that site. So check that out.
Awesome.
All right. Well, along with 45 million other viewers on Netflix, I watched Bird Box.
Up top. That's on my list too.
Shit, I should probably put that on.
That's the movie that is on my list that I was like, this is going to start a conversation or a fight.
Okay. I thought it was a very good movie. I did not think it was a very good horror movie. I cannot list this movie as a horror movie. I can list it as a good movie. And as always, Sandra Bullock, she's on my list.
Yeah, she could turn me.
It was interesting. Okay. Wow. This is a new conversation altogether.
Well, we're not having it on the cast.
Oh, okay. The only thing is, because she's got these two very young kids, and it's interesting to look at her and realize that she's 54 years old.
Yeah, she is.
I don't know why, like, people are fucking hating on this movie so hard, like, everywhere. And I don't know if it's because the movie has been viewed and praised by so many people that now all the trolls are coming out. They're like, fuck this movie. I refuse to watch it because I don't want to be part of the crowd or whatever. And they're missing a good movie. And whether you want to call it horror or not, there were elements of horror in that movie. It's like calling A Quiet Place not a horror film. Maddie, tonight Greg's not here, so I'm picking on you.
See, but the difference was in Quiet Place, I felt a lot more tension all the way through that I did not feel in Bird Box.
Quiet Place was a creature feature, so that's why it can kind of live in that world. But so was Bird Box. The only thing that Bird Box did right that A Quiet Place didn't was it didn't show the creature ever. And so they kept that a mystery, which was the best thing they could have done.
There was an article saying that there was a reason they didn't show the creature because they ended up feeling that the creature looked too silly.
Probably, but
well, I wish more people would think that and keep their shit off the screen. Yeah.
Because that's what ruined A Quiet Place a little bit for me was they showed that creature and it kind of took me out because it looked fucking stupid.
Yeah, it is silly looking.
But Bird Box from start to finish was a really good movie.
I thought it was a very solid movie.
It's anxiety inducing, and there's just a lot of things they did right in that movie, including the cast. So John Malkovich was really great. Sandra Bullock
he was outstanding
really
in it. Yeah.
They had some nice little twists and turns in there, I thought.
Well, is this another one, and I haven't seen it yet, I put it on my list, because when I saw the trailers, they're marketing it as a horror movie, and then you kind of said it's not a horror movie, and as I said, that drives me insane when people do that. So do you think that kind of could be a lot of the negative, because I didn't go through and read everybody's negative comments.
Yeah,
but was that kind of like the general consensus that people were let down that it wasn't a horror movie?
People are saying that it's not, and it's like Patrick, that it's not a horror film, and it's not a straight out of the gate horror film. It's not. But again, we talked about this on the cast a while back about horror being a feeling and how it makes you feel. And if there's elements in a movie that kind of cause some anxiety and make you kind of grip your chair a little bit and make you sit back a little bit and give you that feeling of like, okay, what's coming? A drama, a comedy, they don't do that. They don't do that at all. And thriller lives in horror. So like, can it live a little bit in that world? Maybe you're stretching, but can it live in that world a little bit because of just how it makes you overall feel? That's just how, I watched it with Elizabeth, and it was more fun than actually kind of watching the movie a little bit. But
did you feel that they had enough of because I was wanting this a little bit more, the blind part of it, that I wanted to not see even more. Does that make sense? Because sometimes they would do the POV through the blindfold.
Yeah.
And I felt they needed to do something along that line a little bit more to help build the suspense up. I don't know.
I thought it was enough, but like I did not like the ending of that movie. I just didn't. If there's one part of that movie I just was like, that I could have done without that.
Okay.
It was the ending of that movie. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I just don't like how it ended.
Do you think it was easy?
It was way too easy.
Okay.
Way too easy.
That's a valid argument. Yeah.
When you're watching all these people fall to what's going on, and then how sorry guys, but just it's kind of not really a spoiler, but how she had to navigate the rapids or whatever blind, and how she had to make her choice, and then not making. I don't want to spoil shit. So, but we'll talk about it off the cast. But
right.
because I don't want to spoil anything, because if you haven't seen Bird Box, you should chase that movie. That's just how I feel. There's 100 people out there that'll tell you not to chase that movie because it's not worth your time. It's a sit. It's a 2-hour movie. So you have to commit. But it's a 2-hour movie that doesn't feel like a 2-hour movie.
Okay.
So that's where I sit in when it comes to Bird Box. I don't get the title either, but man, whatever.
Because there was a box of birds.
That's so fucking stupid. That's what my wife said. And I was like, that's the dumbest fucking thing ever. Well, it's called Bird Box because they put birds in a box. Really?
But it's a metaphor for them also being birds in a much larger box.
Okay. I guess they could have called it Blindfolded then, because they wore blindfolds for 90% of the movie. But whatever. That's just me.
It just could have been called, like
Helen Keller the movie.
Helen Keller the movie would have been better.
No, it'd be like Hot Helen Keller.
Either way, Helen Keller the movie would have been a better title.
Do you need a moment alone, Patrick?
No, I'll be all right.
What's on your list, man?
I was going to say, I have been really trying to catch up on 2018 horror. It hasn't been working out so well because I don't want to pay for most of the movies that are that came out in 2018, and they're not free on streaming services yet. So I've been trying, but mostly I've been catching up on the Hellraiser movies. I've watched through part 4, and then I watched Hellraiser Judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were a thing.
Let's talk about Judgment for a little bit. Because
we were talking about
you had a good conversation about that a little bit ago.
Yeah, before the cast, we were kind of talking about. I heard that a lot of the later Hellraiser movies where they bought the script and just stuck Pinhead in that. I'm not sure if that's valid or not. I think it seems like something that they would do, but whatever. I thought that Hellraiser Judgment had such a late Saw, Jigsaw feel to it.
Yeah.
Even like the fact that nobody had a freaking light bulb in that movie, and just like the plot and the feel of it and the whole like kind of judgment thing. But then Pinhead is one of my favorite horror movie villains, and he's hardly in Judgment at all. He literally sat on his ass for like 90% of that movie, and it's so frustrating because he's such a cool character, and like I'd be happy with like a 90-minute movie of him doing like fucking stand-up comedy. I don't care.
He got up once and he got his ass beat by an angel, and then she's like, sit the fuck down, and then he was like, all right, and then that was the end of Pinhead.
That was the end of it. But I'm not going to give away a lot of this movie because it is still pretty new, but I'd suggest people check it out. I think the first part of it is just the biggest what the fuck I've ever seen in my life. Like
you can find it on Netflix.
It is on Netflix. So that's kind of what I've been watching. I would definitely recommend checking it out.
Yeah.
But
my wife met the actor that plays Pinhead,
Doug Bradley,
and she said he's a tiny man.
Yeah.
Now, was it Doug Bradley in Judgment?
No,
Where did he stop?
I think he didn't do the last two.
Okay.
And Judgment was the 10th one.
Okay,
so I don't think he did.
Lord, that many?
Yeah, I don't think he did 9 or 10. It was kind of funny with Doug Bradley because sometimes, like, just the way they light him sometimes in these movies, sometimes he's the scariest looking person, and sometimes he looks like exactly what he is a middle-aged
tiny man.
Looking dude. He just, I don't know. Sometimes the way they light him, I'm like, oh my God, he is so creepy. And then other times I'm like, okay. But yeah, that's what I've been watching.
Yeah. Well, he touched on Bird Box, and that was one on my list. And then the last one I have on my list was, again, catching up to 2018. And I'm pretty far behind on this one because it's been out for a while. But I finally watched Revenge and dug the shit out of it. It's the same filmmaker that did MFA, which is on Prime. They're both rape revenge films, but they both go on two different directions. Yes, there was stuff in Revenge that I was like, that is just not possible. Her fall was like, I heard things break, and I was like, that's just not a thing. But whatever, get up.
Well, even being alive after that. Yeah.
That chick was a badass. And, you watch her in the beginning, and she's kind of like Valley Girl stupid a little bit. And then to watch her turn and just get pissed and say, fuck you guys, here we go. I'm taking you on a ride and your balls are coming with me, was a lot of fun. So
yeah, I'm not sure where it's going to land in my top 10, but it's definitely landing in my top 10. That was one that I watched for the 30 Days of Horror Marathon.
Yeah.
And pimped it out to you guys, and I'm glad you had a chance to see it.
Yeah.
Because it's a damn good movie.
It's on my list, and I'm really excited to check it out, especially because I Spit on Your Grave, the remake, is one of my absolute favorite movies, and I kind of got some of that from watching the trailer, and so I'm excited.
If you get a chance, watch MFA and then turn around and watch Revenge. Same filmmaker, same concept, kind of different directions. Check them out.
All right. The one that I watched was Mandy with the good old Nick Cage. And, it is an LSD trip for like 90% of the movie. It is weird. It is absurd. It's a trip. It really is. And I'm like sitting there watching it going, what the hell am I watching? And when I finished it, I'm like, what the hell did I just watch?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking, this may end up on my top 10.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, I have one spot left on my top 10. And I have not seen Mandy yet. There's 3 different movies I think can end in that spot, and but I want to see Mandy. Yeah,
it was one of those that, like I said, it's just like I don't know if I like it or not. And then the more I thought about it, the more I liked it, and we've hit a couple movies this year that have hit me that way.
It sticks in your head that long. It should end up on your. If it's a movie that you're like, you should see this movie, even if it's kind of garbagey a little bit. You should if you're going, you should see this movie. It's a movie that should stick on your list.
Yeah, and it's a type of movie that allows Nick Cage to do what he does best, and that's to be a little over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mandy.
Did you like Mandy better than you liked Mom and Dad?
I'm going to say yes.
Did you?
Yeah.
I hated Mom and Dad.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah.
Just like you guys have said, I've been trying to catch up. I'm going to kind of round it out with 2. I watched Cam, and I watched half of Hereditary.
I'm so sad that you did not make it through Hereditary.
I'm going to try. I'm going to...
The back half is better.
Yeah.
It goes bonkers.
Yeah, and I did kind of like look at like a plot summary just because I was like, I want to know what happens, but I don't care about any of these people. And so it does look like it does go a little crazier. So I feel like Hereditary is a movie I have to be in the mood to watch.
Yeah.
And I watched it when I just was not in the mood to watch.
You got the part that what happened to the little girl, right?
Yeah. Okay. As I said, I watched an hour in. I'm halfway through it, but just...
You put that message out about what's wrong with this little girl, and I was just like, you just fucking wait. There's a lot that's going to be wrong with her in a second.
And I was wondering if that's going to be like an off-microphone discussion.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to try. As I've said a couple times in this cast, I'm not a huge fan of slow burn movies.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a horror movie or anything else.
Yeah.
I want stuff to just go, and this movie just, it's not going.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't.
which I knew that going in, but as I said, I should have been in the frame of mind to watch it, so I'll give it another shot. Cam was one that I know ended up on a lot of people's top. I don't understand why. I'll be straight up. It's not a good movie, and it's definitely not a good horror movie.
I don't understand that either. I mean, and I've seen it popping up on a lot of 2018 lists.
Well, it's not a horror movie.
No. And I think it was, and I think I said this in our message thread, that people were trying to cram in at the last minute so that they could release their blogs, whatever. And they said, oh, okay, let's watch Cam. Oh, that was great. It's on my list. You know, because maybe they only saw 10 movies this past year.
Yeah.
I too, I mean, I saw it, you know, a lot of people were saying, well, you know, it's a great movie. It talks about, you know, from the point of view of a sex worker and, you know,
which I did appreciate that about it. It did like I didn't think that they were trying to portray any of the characters as like, well, this slut. So like I did appreciate that they kind of humanized a lot of sex workers, because I know that's kind of a problem in some movies, but to me that message and that attitude just didn't make up for the rest of the film just being hot garbage.
But do you think that possibly that topic was being exploited specifically for this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because they could have gone with the same type of thing without having to go to the sex worker area of it. That it just seemed to me they used this as a way to show more TNA on screen to get more guys to look at it, to up their numbers, even though it was a piece of crap movie.
Yeah, and to me, like the ending, I almost felt like they were filming it as they went along, and then we're like, shit, guys, we only have 15 minutes left of this movie. It just ended. Just, I don't care. Make something up and end it. Like, and it irritated me because it had a lot of potential. Like the whole her identity being stolen online and everything, that could have been so cool. And just the way they handled it and the way it was resolved was so disappointing.
Right.
And the acting was really good. I will say that. I think everyone did a good job. I just didn't like this, and I don't really understand why, especially to put it on a horror list. And we were just talking about this. Movies don't have to be 100% balls to the wall horror, but there was literally nothing in this movie that I could say, oh, that's got a horror element in it. Like, it's not even, I wouldn't even say it's got a thriller element. It honestly,
really didn't. I felt there was no conflict between characters. There was no buildup, and it was weak.
Yeah, it was a really, really weak movie. I mean, I think a lot of horror movies that Netflix have put out have been really hit and miss.
Yeah.
And this was like The Ritual, which was earlier this year. I forgot that was a 2018 movie.
Yeah, and it's on a lot of people's list.
Yeah.
But this is the same thing, is it's really weak. I feel like they're just trying to like capture the widest audience they can, and they're not doing a good job.
Yeah, there was an article I saw that it's talking about how many horror films Netflix has either acquired or done original stuff on, because they dominated the streaming services when it came to horror this year. So it seems like exactly what you're saying, cast that wide net and see what lands.
Yeah, but I can't in any context recommend anybody watching Cam.
I don't either.
It's such a letdown.
That will not be on my 2018 list.
No. To be honest, though, you kind of said something that really applied to me with the people didn't watch a lot of horror movies this year. I certainly didn't. There weren't a lot of 2018 horror movies that I was that interested in. I'll be honest, there's a couple things on my list that were not 2018, but I just watched them in 2018. But I didn't go back like insanely far. Like I didn't put Hellraiser 4 on my list.
That would have been awesome.
I did try to stick from like 2016 on, so at least they're like relevant. But like, no, if I had done this to the movies I'd really enjoyed, it would be Hellraiser 2, 3, and 4 on there.
Yeah, so we're not going to see like Jaws on your list then.
No, okay. no Nosferatu, no, none of that. Does anyone watch anything else that they want to chat about?
I do have one more, and it's going to be really quick. It's a movie called Sabrina. I watched it because it was listed as the Indonesian Annabelle.
Oh, yeah.
And what it really was a pile of dog shit. So stay away from Sabrina.
Yeah, that looked good.
It did not know what it wanted to be. It was all over the place, and I just didn't care.
When you said you watched that movie, I had flipped by the cover of that movie, and just by flipping by the cover, I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
You pulled the trigger on that?
I did. And I mean, they even tried to set up like a Warren couple type situation.
Yeah.
It was just,
gross.
God. And my problem is I can't just stop in the middle of a movie. I have to see it all the way through.
You don't have a 45-minute rule?
I do not. It's one of those things. It's okay. I know it's not going to get better, but I can't just walk away from it.
Yeah.
There's something in me about that, and I could kick myself in the balls every time for doing that, especially on this movie. So that's it for my what I've been watching.
Cool. I'm done. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, now to our actual topic. This, as I said, is kind of a twofer. We want to talk about 2018 as a year in horror, but we also want to talk about what we're looking forward to in 2019 and what movies we're looking forward to. So what do we want to start off with?
I think the indies dominated horror this year, really. And so you didn't hear a lot about Terrifier was indie, and things like You Might Be the Killer was like, the things that didn't get a theatrical release. Mm-hmm. Movies that dropped just like straight to streaming, or you could rent it on streaming, or Netflix or Prime or Hulu or whatever. Those are like Pyewacket and stuff like that. Stuff like that did not get, like you said, a mainstream release. Those dominated this year, and they were way better than really the blockbusters in horror that came out this year, minus a few. Yeah. But to me, it was a year of everything kind of went in a thriller direction. There was no real horror film that came out that was like the blood and gut movie that was really like, fuck Halloween. That came out.
We're not going to talk about that.
But I mean, and like, Terrifier was blood and guts and stuff. They were there, but like, to me, thriller horror dominated over, or ghost story horror, or, stuff like that, or supernatural stuff dominated over the blood and gut stuff, this year, I thought, which I have no problem with at all whatsoever.
Other than Halloween, was there a slasher release?
Well, not really a slasher release. I mean, you could call You Might Be the Killer a slasher film, because
once again, did that get a theatrical release?
It did not get a theatrical release. No. But yeah, there was no real, I think, minus Halloween that I can think of off the top of my head, a real blockbuster slasher film that came out this year.
Yeah.
That was kind of my thought for this year, is that there wasn't a lot of horror movies. I feel like they were, as I said with Netflix, they're trying to cast such a huge net and get more people into the horror genre that they were kind of like, I feel like there's a lot of blending of the genres. I couldn't think of a straight horror movie, especially a blockbuster one that really came out. You had action horror, you had drama horror, you had, which, as I said, I think they're trying to, as I said, just cast a wide net and get a wider audience. I think it's hard to market a straight horror movie, and not even a slasher, but just a horror movie, to a mainstream huge audience. Right. I mean, you're always going to have horror fans that are like, hell yeah. I mean, like me, that just want a straight horror movie. I know it's a smaller, net than trying to market something to everybody.
Yeah.
It's almost like Hollywood has interfered a little bit too much this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like just keep out of it.
Yeah.
We've established that Hollywood has a really hard time making good horror movies. Just next year, just leave it to the independent films.
Again, there were some mainstream films that dropped this year that A Quiet Place has dominated the box office. But again, the indies, the stuff that dropped straight to Netflix, a lot of them were shit, but there's a handful of them that were really good films that would have never gotten discovered if you weren't, scrolling around, I guess, on Netflix or whatever.
Yeah.
You didn't see previews for them on TV or anything or trailers on TV. So you would have never, they're all films that you had to discover on your own.
Yeah.
And those, the horror fans had to go out and do their research and do the work to find those.
Yeah. Now, I think I go back to your first statement that the indies dominated this year.
Yeah.
That's my thought on 2018.
That's an awesome thing, by the way. That is fantastic. I'd rather see 1 million indie films come out this year and just in that genre, I guess, than a bunch of terrible Hollywood horror films come out that, nobody gives a shit about that much. They water them down. They don't do it right. I don't think they do it right.
Yeah, as I said, they're trying to appeal to a huge audience, and you can't market something like Terrifier to a huge audience.
Yeah, and the indies don't have to follow any fucking rules. They don't have to they don't have to make any producer giving you millions of dollars happy. They just get to make what they want to make and what makes them happy, and say once they're done making that movie, they just get to go, all right, everybody, there you go. Take a look at it. Let's just tell me what you think, how you feel. Do you hate it? Do you love it? What do you think? And that's the greatest thing, is not having to stay inside that box. They get to just
do whatever,
play and do whatever they want to.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of why I've said before, I really like a lot of foreign horror more than I like a lot of the more recent movies that have come out in the United States, because they have different rules that they follow. And I feel, especially French horror is insane, and I don't feel like they're following anybody's rules. They're just like, nope, we'll do what we want, and you will enjoy it, or you won't. You don't have to watch it.
Yeah.
This next year, I'm looking forward to a lot more. I'm going to be watching a lot more, I think, foreign horror films than I will, especially like big blockbuster movies this next year.
Now, when we talk about blockbuster movies for 2019, that's all that's on my list. But again, I will discover those indie gems when they come out in 2019, later on in the year, when they start dropping on Netflix or Prime or Hulu or wherever they decide to drop. I'm on those all the time. I will discover them on my own, and I'm sure they will just kill.
Yeah.
So
something I really missed in 2018 with horror movies, and even a lot of the indies I didn't feel captured this, is I like my horror movies to have a little bit of a fun element to them. Like, I think Terrifier is an insanely fun movie. I had fun watching it. Is it gory? Yeah. Is it kind of horrific? Yeah. But you have fun watching that. And this year, I feel like there's a lot of drama horror, and just, I'm not here for it. I didn't have fun watching most of the movies that I watched this year that came out this year. And we talked about that article, and I can't remember the phrase that they said. I think they said it was a lot of good horror movies have something called a dark delight. And that phrase really stuck with me, because all of my favorite horror movies, besides Martyrs, which is just a bleak, wonderful movie, they're fun. Yeah. I enjoy watching them. I have fun watching them, even though they're, I don't even.
Martyrs, I did not have that much fun watching.
No, as I said, Martyrs was kind of out there on its own. But a lot of the movies I love have that dark delight, that element of fun there. And even if it is a gory, horrific thing, I don't feel like it's a chore to watch them. But I will say, a lot of these movies that I watched this year, I was kind of like, this is something to like kind of slog through almost.
It's to kind of counter that, though, too, is like, it was to me a year of very smart writing and storytelling. The films that came out this year did make you think, and did make you kind of take a step back. And, you had to, a movie like Terrifier, which I loved, by the way, you could look away from Terrifier and come back 5 minutes later and know what's going on.
Yeah.
There are movies that came out this year that if you even...
Yeah, you'd be glued to the screen.
If you looked away for a second, you'd come back and go, what are we doing now? Because you blinked and you missed something. But I think the writing and the storytelling has been really smart this year. Like I said, I thought it was, the storytelling in Bird Box, and based off a book, which I did not know coming into that. Or like I said, A Quiet Place. I love those movies. And I used to love the blood and gut movies that didn't make me think at all. And I still, they are fun. Like Terrifier was fucking fun. But I wasn't like, that was brilliant. And that made me think. And I just, now I'm thinking about becoming a clown or anything like that. some of the best years this year were just the movies that were just really smartly written, and the storytelling was laser focused, and it made you pay attention. Hereditary, if you looked away from Hereditary, you have no idea what the fuck is going on in that movie.
Yeah. I just wish there was like a blending of those. Like because although I love my blood and gore in my movies, it doesn't have to be there. It's fun. Yeah. But I would love to see a movie that had amazing storytelling, but that I had fun sitting through and watching. And there needs to be a mix of thinking and not thinking. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you can have movies that have a twist in it, but still are fun, are enjoyable to watch. So I don't know. That's something I'm going to definitely really be looking forward to next year, I think.
So what are the movies we are looking forward to in 2019 then?
Yeah, I mean, you have a list. I wrote down,
but I'm just going to zip through it.
I wrote down.
Just have a couple, and I'm sure a lot of ours are gonna.
I wrote down 4 things. I'm really looking forward to Rob Zombie's 3 from Hell. I'm a huge fan of Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses, even minus a couple of his. I'm just an overall fan of Rob Zombie. So 3 from Hell, I'm looking forward to a lot. It Chapter 2 is coming out next year. I look forward to seeing how they wrap that all up. The adult cast is really great that they announced. Anything in the Conjuring universe coming out next year. The Conjuring 3 is coming out next year. I think another Annabelle movie is coming out
it's
next year.
At this time.
But there's a couple of films that live in the Conjuring universe that are coming out next year that I'm looking forward to. And then I can't wait for Pet Sematary. I'm excited for Pet Sematary. Mm-hmm. Again, that was a movie that when I was a kid scared the shit out of me. I'll be really curious to see how they kind of reimagine it and redo it. And they stick closer to the book, I think, this time around. And the cast is great. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
All of those were on my list as well. But I'm going to throw in Us after watching that trailer.
Yeah.
I'm going to add The Curse of La Llorona.
I forgot about that
one. That I want to see. Zombieland 2 is coming out. I hope they don't mess that one up. And believe it or not, Child's Play.
Oh, yeah. They're revamping that.
Completely revamping
it. Yeah. God,
I do really like the marketing they're doing for, like, they're making it like a toy that's coming out. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really fun. That's cute.
I can tell you Alex Vincent, just because I'm friends with him on on the internet world, Facebook. And he's not happy that they are redoing this Child's Play thing, especially since he's not involved in it. He is just not a happy camper that they're doing that without because they're not doing it with, I can't think of his name. The guy that originated the voice of Chucky. He's not, nobody from the Child's Play franchise is coming back to do this movie.
Interesting.
So they're doing it all fresh and all new.
I can't decide if I like that or not. Because, like, on one hand, like, when they revamp these older horror movies, I think it's really fun to see, like, people from the original cast in there. But at the same time, I can also understand the whole, hey, let's start fresh and get this out to a new audience and a new generation. So I don't know what I like about it. I don't know which one I like more.
When you start putting cameos in, do you stop taking your own film seriously? That's kind of like how I think some people feel is like, oh, Alex Vincent can play a security guard in this movie. And then people are just going to kind of look at like, oh, he was in the original. And
it's like, oh, look, there's Alex Vincent. Yeah. How sad.
I don't know. I kind of think that's fun. Like, Stephen King has done cameos in every single one of his movies. And, like, I love that. So, as I said, I don't know. I think some fun cameos are cool. But I don't know. It just depends.
What about your list? Is there anything that we mentioned that that is on? You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, the only thing that I was kind of looking forward to is a movie called The Turning, and it is a kind of exorcist possession movie. Not a lot.
Heard of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say not a lot has come out about it so far, but there were some clips, and it looked pretty cool. I think it's coming out later in the year.
There's a trailer out for that.
Yeah, it's a really short teaser trailer.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, I thought that one looked pretty interesting. But yeah, same here. I'm looking forward to Pet Sematary. I'm really looking forward to 3 from Hell. Yeah. I also love Rob Zombie, and I'm looking forward to Us as well.
Lords of Salem was the Rob Zombie film that I'm just like, I just can't.
I haven't seen it yet, and it's
31 was fantastic. I was in that very small group of people that like 31, but Lords of Salem was dog shit to me.
I'm really interested to see what they do with Three from Hell, because to me, House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects are two totally different like approaches to a movie, because you have House of a Thousand Corpses, which is really fun, and then you have Devil's Rejects, which is really gritty. And
but it's like, it was almost like Otis and Baby and Spalding were completely different characters.
Oh yeah, night and day.
Devil's Rejects, it was crazy. So I think Three from Hell will be closer to what they did with Devil's Rejects than it would be going back to House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah, I can see that too, but it would be nice if they put a little of that fun element in. As I said, I'm missing that in horror movies, and I would just kind of like that. And there were some lighthearted parts in Devil's Rejects. Maybe
they tried.
They tried, but I'd like to see that in there, because I think Rob Zombie has a sense of humor in his movies, and I want that to stay.
Yeah.
Now, aside from ones that you want to see, are there some coming out that you just want to avoid at all costs?
Yeah, that Curse of La Llorona, I really have no interest in at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just
zero.
Just zero. This will probably get me kicked off the cast. I'm not a huge fan of the Conjuring series. Not a huge. I don't hate them.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't hate them, but it's kind of like what I said with The Strangers. Even though, I'm sorry, no one got castrated, Josh. So I was just
cool.
No. It's one of those movies that I can say is a good movie, but I just don't enjoy it.
I don't know if I'm a fan of The Conjuring, don't get me wrong, because I talk that movie up all the time, and I love those movies. I'm a fan of James Wan.
James Wan is very talented.
And his approach, just as a filmmaker, and what he's done and where he started and stuff like that. I think I'm like a fan of James Wan, but I am a fan of the Conjuring series.
As I said, I will happily say that they're great movies. I've never been a huge ghost story-ish person.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. Like, my favorite movie of all time is A Ghost Story, but like at the same time, like, just overall, just not my cup of tea, I guess.
Yeah. What about you, Patrick?
Well, there's one that I'm sure you want to rush out and see, but I'm not interested in, and that's The Gallows Act 2.
Fuck that bullshit.
There's World War Z 2.
Yeah, didn't like the first one.
There is Don't Fuck in the Woods 2.
Okay, so I know the guys that made Don't Fuck in the Woods.
Really?
And I have not seen it, but those guys, indie filmmakers, and they're out tearing it up.
Well,
you make a movie called Don't Fuck in the Woods. I mean,
And I guess the first one was good enough to make a second one.
I haven't seen or heard of that, and
you can find Don't Fuck in the Woods, I'm pretty sure, on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was another one I saw listed for 2019 released. It was just called Grudge, and I don't know if it has anything to do with The Grudge.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I think they're remaking it.
Oh, please. Gosh, get over that.
I know.
And then Happy Death Day to You.
I didn't see the first one because I
liked the first one. But once again, it's that campy, fun stuff in it. So it's kind of like Scream style type film is what it was.
The look at the list. There's not a lot of movies on there that I'm like, fuck that movie. There's just not a lot of movies on there that I'm gonna chase. Like New Mutants. I have no whatever. No. There's just movies. There's movies that I'm looking forward to, and there's movies I don't really give a shit if they come out or not. So Happy Death Day to You. I haven't actually seen Happy Death Day, and I own that movie. Don't fuck off. I have never watched it. But Happy Death Day to You, I can't imagine is going to be much different than the first one. So I've seen the trailer for it. It looks like the exact same movie.
It's the same formula, just them recognizing what the hell happened. They're going, oh shit, it's happening again, but I know how to do it this time.
It's Groundhog's Day too.
Yeah, it really is.
Cool, I can't wait.
Oh my God.
So that's 2019 for us.
Yeah, 2019. All right, are we ready for our feature presentation? We reviewed a movie called Incident in a Ghostland. It was directed by the same gentleman who did Martyrs, so I was super, super excited to watch this. Patrick, you got some deets for us?
I do have some deets, and this week they are correct. I'm not going to read something from another movie.
So proud.
Yeah, Incident in a Ghostland. Available to rent on Amazon Prime, Vudu, YouTube, Google Play, and many more, running an hour 31. A mother of two who inherits a house is confronted with murderous intruders on the first night in their new home and fights for her daughter's lives. 16 years later, when the daughters reunite at the house, things get really strange. IMDb score, 6.4. Metascore, 44%. Rotten Tomatoes critics score matches it at 44%. Rotten Tomato audience score, 54%.
It's kind of low.
That's super low.
Yeah.
I think it's really low.
I thought it was extremely low.
Yeah.
So just by judging first reactions, you guys liked it?
I did. There was a lot that I loved about this movie. There's a couple things I didn't really care for, but like for the most part, yeah, I really dug this.
Okay.
It went on my 2018 list.
I thought it was super like fire out of the gate. It did not start slow. It did stop for about 30 minutes. It took about 30 minutes after the initial opening to kind of get
going
again. But once it got going, you were in.
Yeah, I broke this down into 3 acts like most movies are. The first act was only about 7 to 8 minutes long.
Yeah.
The second and third act were both about 40 minutes long.
Yeah, and I don't want to give any spoilers on this movie because I do want people to see it, and it's a 2018, and
I think we can spoil a little bit.
Yeah.
Because since I think we're all kind of excited about this movie, it's going to be hard not to.
Yeah. So it had some really great reveals.
Oh yeah.
Throughout the whole movie. With that being said, I feel like it suffered from the Sixth Sense syndrome, where it's not a movie you can really go back and watch again, because once all those reveals are once you kind of know what's going on, there's nothing really to look forward to.
Right. Yeah. But I would encourage you to watch it again, because I did watch it again today. And knowing what I knew, I was able to see things I didn't understand. Not that I didn't understand, but things that the director and the producer set up so cleverly throughout the entire thing that I really appreciated that. Now, I don't know if it's worth a 4th, 5th, 6th type of viewing.
Yeah.
But definitely I would say go back and take another look at it and find all those little bits and pieces that, like I said, they threw throughout the movie. And I've got a couple of them written down that I'll probably bring up as we're talking about the movie.
Yeah, well, maybe if you start, because it might get a conversation started, Patrick, if you kind of bring some stuff up that we can, because you've watched it twice now. I watched it for the first time today.
Yeah.
And absorbed as much as I kind of could.
Well, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers, but they're going to happen. I know they're going to happen as well.
So
because
spoiler alert, here they come.
But little things that happen when she's talking to her mom or she's talking to her sister when she's older.
Yeah.
That then are mirrored later on. Mm-hmm. And things like who she's married to is actually, if you look in the background later on in the movie, there's a picture up on the wall. The beer, because she makes a comment about why are you drinking redneck beer? You see that later on. There's just little things that...
In the pictures you're talking about? The pictures that...
Well, when she says to her mom, why are you drinking redneck beer? And then when you get to the point where Fat Man is force-feeding her redneck beer.
Yeah, I'm talking about the guy she's married to.
The guy that she's married
Evelyn, to. Is that the one that she's like... Not Evelyn.
Vera.
Beth.
Vera. Is that the one she's like, you've been talking to these for a long... Okay, and he's in that picture?
Yep.
Okay,
gotcha. He's in that picture.
The painting? Yeah.
Yep. And there's all sorts of setups like that all the way through this movie that I didn't get the first time.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And that's why I said it was kind of fun to watch it the second time, because then knowing what was going on, what the twist was and everything else, that I was able to, oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that.
Gotcha. My question was, did we see what they saw when they, again, a spoiler, but when they escaped and they're like, we're being chased by an ogre and a witch. Mm-hmm. Did we see what they were seeing, or did we see the guy and the woman in the villains, I guess? Did we see them differently?
I don't think so, but there is argument that since she is a writer, we are seeing what happened to her through the book interpretation of it. So that we are seeing Fat Man, and that's the actual credited name, Fat Man and Candy Truck Woman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that we were seeing them, how she interpreted it in the book.
Okay.
Does that make sense what I'm saying? Okay. That it's like we saw a heightened reality of what she went through and all this other stuff. It's kind of a weird concept.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
Yeah. Because is the book... So the book's not really the book's in her head, kind of like she's living out the book throughout spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Sorry, I fucked that up. But
no.
We warned it, so but that's kind of where I was trying to catch up with what's going on is the book's in her head, right? Yeah. It's not something that's...
Well, and I think that's the point of seeing the mother up in the window and she's pointing down at the typewriter. It's like, you write this fucking shit down.
Yeah, write it all now. Yeah. But I thought the two sisters, the actresses, were great.
They were amazing.
They're really good.
So good.
The other question I had was the mother walked out at one point to get the ambulance, and she said, "Don't listen to what your sister tells you," and I didn't understand why.
I think that's part of the mental block that she was putting up on herself, and her mother was reinforcing that. If you want to stay sane, don't listen to your sister.
Gotcha.
Because the sister's the one who's trying to pull her back.
Gotcha. When she did that whole, I've been trying to pull you out of this or get you back for so long. That's when the movie kind of started for me too. Right there was when Beth snapped back into her shitty reality of what was actually happening to her. But that incident in the Ghostland, I'm sorry I waited so long to watch it.
Yeah, I am too. It was...
And that was one I pimped out to you guys back in October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely landing on my 2018. So
I will say, and as I said, I loved most of this movie. The one thing I did not like the villains. To me, there was something lacking with them. They weren't scary. They weren't anything.
They were very
just
vanilla.
Yeah, they were just, I was like, so we have a Mongoloid and Buffalo fucking Bill here.
Yeah.
Like, what? I don't know. Just, of course, they drove the plot, obviously, but to me, they didn't add anything.
There's actually a lot of criticism like that about this movie that I read online, and yet some people were backing it up. And I want to get into the discussion in a little bit because this movie has been criticized for being misogynistic and transphobic.
I didn't get either of those.
The transphobic I did not
exactly
get at all.
I didn't either.
Well, because to me, as I said, the character reminded me so much of Buffalo Bill. And to me, that wasn't... I didn't think Buffalo Bill was transphobic. They weren't... Because to me, they weren't... And this goes both for the character in Incident in a Ghostland and Buffalo Bill. They weren't portraying like a transgender person. They were portraying someone who's mentally ill.
Right.
And to me, those are two totally different things.
Right.
So,
and besides that, it wasn't being transgender that made that person evil.
Yeah, no, they were just nuts.
And if that was the case, then I could see it being transphobic. Fuck it. I'm going to, let's just talk about the misogyny and the transphobic claims on this thing. I totally felt that it was not either of those because it represented these women as fighting back.
Yeah.
As part of it. Yes, they got the shit kicked out of them. Okay. But they fought back.
Yeah.
The mom fought back hard at the beginning. The girls fought back. Vera fought back just to bring her sister back. All of that other stuff. Beth literally becomes a woman.
She was the
in
fighter.
This movie.
Yeah.
I mean, she gets her period for the first time. They symbolically make her a woman in this movie, and she's fighting back. She discovers exactly how evil men are in this movie. And that's why I thought maybe he kept them kind of generic and didn't develop those because he wanted them to represent maybe all men.
Yeah, I really felt, as I said, to me, the villains didn't add anything to it, but I think the female characters in this movie were so strong. Like, they really were just amazing. I remember this is the first time I watched it today, and just watching the mom at the beginning fighting so hard. I remember I went out to my boyfriend and said, fucking finally, I said, I'm watching a movie where like someone's fighting back. Because most of the time I was thinking about Hills Have Eyes today. The women literally just sat there and screamed the entire thing. And to me, that's such horseshit. Yeah. To me, that's more misogynistic than this movie where they have very, very strong characters that are fighting and trying to get out, and just they're being intelligent. Like, they did some smart shit in this movie and didn't just sit there and scream.
Right. And I think the director-writer did a really, really good job of using other symbols in this movie, such as the dolls, because a doll is very much part of the patriarchy when we, as men, want our women to be there, silent, don't fight back, anything like that. A doll is very much a representation of what misogynistic men want. And that is totally reflected at the very end of the movie when they're going out on the stretchers and she looks over and she sees all those dolls in cages. And I mean, they fought against that and escaped from that. So I think this is actually a critique of misogyny more than what anybody can say that it is misogynistic.
Now, I kind of had a hard time a little bit calling the ogre guy a villain. Really.
Yeah, because he was...
I mean...
Yeah, to me, there was something And
there's a screw loose.
Yeah, let's be fair. Like anybody that runs around like raping, molesting, and killing people has a screw loose. But this guy was like,
I kind of saw him as Leatherface in a way.
A little bit.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I mean, so if I look back at Leatherface, he was definitely a villain, and that. So I do see him as a villain in this movie.
Yeah, like I wasn't like I don't think there was any excuse for what he was doing, but to me, like. Yeah, I could definitely see like kind of a Leatherface thing because like I think what did they credit the woman as
the candy truck woman.
Okay.
Or CTW for short.
So I think that she was the driving force and was kind of using this guy or I don't know. Have you guys seen or read the book Big Driver?
Have not.
It's a Stephen King book. It's amazing. And they did make a like Lifetime. Not a Lifetime, like, but that kind of like made for TV.
They made a Hallmark movie out of it.
They made a Hallmark movie out of it.
Showing this Christmas.
But it kind of really reminded me of that kind of relationship because it's about a mother who's like luring women to feed her son's like rape needs. But that really reminded me of that relationship that was kind of going on with this.
He was prepping the girls for him, dressing them like dolls, putting them in specific positions, everything else. So yeah, I mean, it was a relationship that was totally feeding off of each other.
Yeah, and as I said, that's totally reminded me of that Big Driver movie, and like kind of the same thing there, where you're kind of like, is that guy really all there?
Yeah.
No, he definitely was not all there. He had definite mental issues other than just being psychotic.
Yeah.
And physical issues as well, because they showed his face partly in the one scene. Mm-hmm. Did you guys feel that his character changed a little bit from the very beginning because he barreled down that hallway to knock the mother down, and then later he's walking around with a crutch.
Well,
and I didn't see that he had gotten injured or anything like that.
I kind of felt there was a huge change just because when he goes barreling down the hallway and everything, he was so brutal. And then he goes from like this like brutal, almost like, what was that movie, Cain and See No Evil kind of guy to Uncle Touchy. And you're just kind of, it doesn't really say how long those girls were in there with them. So I don't really know like if there was a huge change or something like that. But yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I was like, I was expecting like a really brutal kind of almost Jason-y figure from what it first portrayed. And then, as I said, you go to Uncle Touchy. And it's just kind of...
Yeah. Well, but then he lost his shit when she stabbed him in the shoulder.
Yeah.
A lot of people do.
He totally lost his shit and showed how incredibly brutal he could be. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a great scene.
So do you think then that maybe like the candy truck woman knew that if he didn't have like some sort of an outlet for his like crazy freaky little fantasies that he'd be out like doing crazier shit, and maybe that's why because like they kind of had all those, he was hearing the dolls saying, oh, you're ugly, you're disgusting, and all this stuff. Do you think that maybe she was like setting up and like almost sacrificing these girls to him because she knew if he didn't have an outlet that he'd like be out being a freaking even bigger psycho?
I don't know.
Yeah. But the candy truck was a lot of fun too. I'm glad they shot inside the candy truck because that was kind of a cool visual. And when they escaped at the in the cops, I thought that movie was over at that point.
I thought it was
but you get, I think, 15, 20 more minutes out of it.
15 minutes out of it, definitely, and jam-packed with adventure.
Yeah.
Well, and then they do something that I think is interesting because I always see this in horror movies and I'm like, well, where did that happen? Where the police call for backup and the backup actually shows up? Yeah, like I swear in every other horror movie they call in for backup. And for once I was like, when the guy came and the police officer came in and shot him, I was like, oh, holy shit, they actually came.
But I like how it was one single cop that shows up.
Yeah, I feel like they'd have a lot more if you have that kind of call going.
We don't know how many people were still downstairs or anything like that. That happened to be the cop that happened. You think they'd come running up after they heard shots fired because there was almost an entire minute and a half.
Yeah.
But after that,
when he calls that that makes that call and calls it in, everybody's like, we know exactly what house you're talking about. So you're thinking like an army of people are coming, and you just get the one load.
That was actually also a pretty cool thing that they did is when he was calling it in, you saw over his shoulders the lights of the truck, and you're thinking, shit. Yep. And then it goes, it was nothing. It's like, that was awesome, though.
I do want to kind of briefly compare this movie to Martyrs, as you were kind of talking about. Yes, please do,
because I have not seen Martyrs.
You will on October 28th, 2019.
Why is that?
You said that give you another year and that you would watch it. I have it written down.
All right.
Shit.
Damn, you're like my wife.
We all women have that.
Call you on it.
The only thing I could kind of see where people were saying, yelling misogyny is Martyrs was not nice to their female characters.
Not at all.
Very strong female characters. But I think their villains were better developed, but that's just me. But they were brutal to their female cast, and it was very... I don't want to say it was a misogynistic movie, but it was showing a lot of misogynistic
Right. So do you think that people approach this movie hypersensitive to having seen Martyrs prior to?
I thought the females in Ghostland were stronger than the females in Martyrs.
They were, but it was
talking
totally...
about fighting back and everything like that. I thought they were way stronger in Ghostland than Martyrs.
But in Martyrs, you had more developed, intelligent villains that made it harder for them to really fight back. The situation
was way different.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a totally different situation.
Some cult shit going on in Martyrs.
Yeah. Martyrs, it had a totally... But as I said, I do think maybe people were hypersensitive because we had the director showing that brutality in Martyrs. Maybe they were seeing that an incident in a Ghostland and immediately jumping into, oh my god, this director must hate women. But I didn't see it like that because, as I said, the characters are so strong. Totally different vibe, though. Like, I don't think Incident in a Ghostland had a fun vibe. Martyrs was next level brutality and just a totally different tone to it.
You wouldn't look at Martyrs and go, oh, the same person that made that movie made Ghostland. I don't think you can connect it at all.
Yeah, it's night
as far as the filmmaking goes. But I liked Ghostland better.
I don't know. I liked Martyrs better, but that's just...
Martyrs got to the point, and I talked about this because I watched it a while back, but Martyrs got to the point where I just got tired of watching one of the females towards the end of the movie just get her ass beat constantly. I had enough of that. There's only so much even in my head I can take watching that before I'm just like, all right, this is starting to piss me off.
So how much more brutal is Martyrs compared to Ghostland?
It's above and beyond.
Yeah, it's night and day. It's the cover of it says it's a ferocious movie, and that's
okay.
Yeah,
all right. Just so I know what to prepare myself for.
Yeah, you're gonna want a couple shots and light some candles.
Okay,
get some baby oil out.
What?
Sorry. I'm setting the mood for Martyrs.
I didn't have to use baby oil when I watched it.
I'm really concerned now.
It's going to be a good ride. So
I think you'll enjoy it, though. Especially, there were some elements in Incident in a Ghostland that I think I don't know. I think the direction of both movies was handled relatively the same, and I think they're both really good movies, but for two totally different reasons.
All right.
So, any other thoughts?
I thought the cinematography in this movie was outstanding.
Beautifully shot, yeah.
Yeah.
That was really good.
And the atmosphere, like, they put so much detail into that house. Oh my god. That was next incredible. Level. I did kind of almost get a House of a Thousand Corpsey vibe when they were like dolling her up, because they did that in House.
I wonder if there was a little bit of tribute to Rob Zombie, because they even said at the beginning when they pulled up to the house, she goes, "Oh, great, we're moving into Rob Zombie's house."
Yeah,
and
they did.
Some shots in the interior kind of reminded me of the Firefly house, like in House of a Thousand Corpses, where there's just a bunch of shit everywhere. Yeah, I think maybe the director is like a fan.
Maybe, yeah.
Of the movie.
Yeah.
I did like them talking about Lovecraft a little bit.
The Lovecraft thing was cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
It was that they had the tribute to him at the very beginning with the quote, and then he's actually a character in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And the guy they got to play him looked exactly like him.
I think they did a chin augmentation on that guy because I think he has the chin that I was not born with.
Yeah, he
had twice as much chin.
I haven't seen a picture of H.P. Lovecraft. So when he first sat down, they didn't show his face. Mm-hmm. So they're pulling people in from the nightmare world into the fantasy world.
The dinner party.
Into the dinner party. So I thought the guy that sat down, the way she reacted was the ogre guy. Before they showed him, and then they showed him, and I got what was going on, but I was like, oh shit, he's kind of walked into her wedding dream sequence.
And that I think was really interesting because even if she was really like dissociating, H.P. Lovecraft's been dead for a long time,
80 some years, I think.
Yeah. So like if they hadn't kind of had that reveal and going back and forth, I think that would have like been a clue, like. She's not playing on the same field.
Well, that's why they put it so much later in the movie.
Yeah.
I'm struggling how the tie-in with Lovecraft was, though, because he's so kind of fantasy-oriented horror, and this was not so much unless we got into the writer aspect of it.
I think it was more the writer aspect of it.
They talk about him, too, in the car ride, also, when she's a kid, and she reads that stuff, and I think that's where kind of the nod came from. When it came to the dream sequence, the wedding party, was just her just being a fan of H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
I just have a few more things I want to touch on. First of all, I love the use of that Chinese puzzle box and the doll with the mirror. I thought they used that pretty effectively.
That was fun.
Was that the first jump scare of the movie? Mm-hmm. I think I like that. The scene where Vera was getting slapped around by nobody in the hallway. I thought she did an outstanding job with that. Nice little touch when the candy truck woman is putting makeup on Beth and it's got that tear rolling down her eye and she's mixing it in right over the rouge and stuff. That was just a really nice setup shot. That one will stick with me. I love opera music in horror movies. There's something about the juxtaposition that is just really cool. And then the way Beth handles the candy truck woman in that final scene, I thought was pretty raw and pretty cool.
Yeah.
A little bit of trivia about the movie. We already know that this was the writer-director of Martyrs. We brought that up. Actress Taylor Hickson, this is the young woman who played Vera, the young Vera.
Okay.
She suffered facial injury when she crashed through a glass door while filming. She later sued the film's production company for the accident.
Okay, yeah.
The one
I heard about
towards
this.
the end, there's that big door with that big glass plate in it, and she was pounding on it, and the directors kept saying, no, this can take more. Go for it, go for it, go for it. And she burst through the thing, scarred her face really, really bad. And I mean, she feels that she's lost acting gigs because of it.
Sue the shit out of him, girl. Yeah. What the?
Yeah, I did hear about this. I didn't know it was that movie.
Yeah,
that's
because I had heard about that before I had actually seen this movie. And then the final piece of trivia I have: Rob Archer, the man that plays the fat man, played Krampus in A Christmas Horror Story.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So this guy is not fat in any way, shape, or form. If you see pictures of him, he often plays characters.
He's jacked.
He's jacked.
Yeah.
Is he really tall?
He's very tall.
Okay.
Yeah. A very big man. So, but they had to obviously put some prosthetics on him to make him look fat. But yeah, I saw that and I went, oh, wait, that's that guy who was totally jacked with the horns on.
Yeah.
He played Krampus. Yeah. So that's the trivia that I have on this movie. I couldn't find any deets on box office or anything like that, so I don't know if this was a VOD.
It went straight to VOD.
Okay.
Yeah, there was no theatrical release or anything on Ghostland.
All right, let's go ahead and score this one then. We score on the gore score, the fear factor, and then our overall score. Let's give it a gore score.
With the gore, I'm going to count the beatings, and because there wasn't a ton of blood in the movie, I'm going to count all the bruising and the beatings, and I'm going to go 6.
Okay, all right.
No, I was going to say, you're right, there was a lot of, like, brutal beating and stuff in this movie, but I wouldn't count it as gore. I don't know, I'd say 3.
I was going to put mine at about 4, so I'll put it right in between there. All right, fear factor then. How much did it scare you?
I was never really afraid, or was never really scared. I feared for it was written and good enough to fear for the characters that were in that movie, though.
Yep.
So you sit around a 5, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, this wasn't a scary movie by any means, but it had a lot of drive behind it, and I was afraid for the characters. Yeah, I'd give it a 5.
I think it could have been scary if they went a different way with the story. when I very first saw this, I thought that it was going to be a supernatural movie. Mm-hmm. And I think that would have, like, if they had gone that way, then the score would be much higher. But I'm giving it about a 4 or 5 for the scare factor.
I'd give it higher if the villains were different. As I said, I just didn't like them very much. Mm-hmm. And to me, they weren't scary. They were just nuts. And that's and there wasn't, 2 different things.
And there wasn't a lot of tension built up in this movie. Yeah. You got what it just hit you hard pretty much the entire movie. Overall score.
Because I can't give it a perfect score, I'm going to sit around at 9.
Wow.
I dug that movie a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll give it an 8 or 9.
I'm falling in at 8. I saw this movie and I said back then, you guys got to watch this one. I had a list of like 3 movies, and I'm glad that we had the chance to see this. And I'm going to urge Greg to watch it regardless, because I'd love to hear his comments. I was going to
say, I really want to hear, because this seems a little brutal for Greg's taste. Mm-hmm. So I really want to hear, but I think it's such a good movie. I really want to hear his opinion.
Exactly. Yeah. I think he could probably get past the brutality of the movie and look at it for what it is. Yeah. Awesome.
Well, very cool. Obviously, we all loved it, so you check that out, Incident in a Ghostland.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. All right, we are going to pimp some stuff out. Josh.
I got nothing to pimp. My pimping is going to be on the short end for a while. So what do you guys got?
Hey, I'm going to say that if you like this podcast, and we know that you do, then head on over to iTunes or whatever format or platform that you're listening to the podcast on, and rate and review us. Also know that we are on, we've got a Patreon account. So if you want to support us, keep us going, help us pay those minor bills that we have every once in a while, then head on over to patreon.com/MidnightFrightcast. You can also find the podcast on Google Play, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, and many, many more. And also be sure to check us out online. We are on Twitter @MFrightcast. We are on Instagram, Midnight Frightcast, and we're on, we got a Facebook group, Midnight Frightcast, believe it or not. So share and
crazy
share
world.
I know, it's funny how that happens. Post it on your walls, tell your friends, and be sure to check out our films at midnightfrightfilms.com and on YouTube.
Very cool. My plug is my usual. We just talked about how much we love indie horror and how we are looking forward to it in the next year. Screambox has a ton of indie horror on there. And it's a low price. You're starting the year out. What is it, $35 a year? I'm sure there's going to be tons of fun on there. And they are really putting out some really cool new material. So go on over to Screambox TV and
one more thing, check out Crypt TV, because we're going to have a podcast coming up where we talk about the content over on Crypt TV.
Yes, you can find them on Twitter and on YouTube. They also have a Facebook page. So yeah, definitely check them out. We're very, very excited to talk about Crypt TV.
Cool.
All right, guys, if we have no more plugs, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and we hope you have a lovely new year from everybody at Midnight Frightcast.